From Kenya to the United States, from Italy to France, mission stories and mission challenges around the globe coming up on Global Mission Snapshots.
Just before he went up to heaven, Jesus gave us a command. He gave us a mission. Jesus said, "Go. Go unto all the world, telling them of His love." This is our mission. This is our global mission.
Hello, I'm Gary Krause and welcome to Global Mission Snapshots. Today we'll be looking at the power of prayer and the power of people who care. A couple of years ago, experts estimated there had been 2.5 million new AIDS-infected people in that 1 year. Despite medical progress, HIV and AIDS still adversely affect millions of families. Today we'll visit some Adventist missionaries working to educate people about the disease. We'll also talk with Richard Elifair, Director of the World Jewish Adventist Friendship Center, one of the Global Mission Study Centers. We'll also take a historical look at some early Adventist missionaries with David Trim, the Director of Archives, Statistics and Research for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But first, let's travel to Italy and a church using prayer to help their church grow.
Milan, Italy, one of the most secularized regions of Europe. Home to amazing architecture, music, fancy shops, fashion, and everything that can make your empty heart feel full. Well, at least that's what the people who live here would like to think. Italy is also home to more than 60 million people, and there is only one Adventist for every 6,900 people. The Adventist Church has had a difficult time growing here.
We have a very secularized society, and it affects the society and the church also. So it's not easy to come to people that think they don't need God, don't need religion. So we must find strategies to come around all the biases and prejudices that people have in their minds. So this is our challenge, and we see that some results are appearing here and there.
La preghiera è la grande arma che Dio ha dato alle sue creature.
Outside of Milan is the area of Bergamo. Here, a small Seventh-day Adventist church meets each Sabbath. The word small can be used to describe the building that they meet in, not the size of the congregation. Several years ago, the church was small and had no growth. Church leaders decided to try establishing small groups that would use prayer as their outreach to the community. The members organized into small groups that would meet several times a week in members' homes. They would study the Bible for a deeper understanding of Jesus and His love for them. At the same time, they prayed that God would bring people to them so they could share their faith. For several months this continued, and then people from outside the church started attending the small groups. These new arrivals were co-workers and mutual friends who wanted to find a deeper meaning in their lives. Slowly, the small church started to grow. Sabbath school became a time of deep spiritual study and prayer. The small groups would meet in their own Sabbath school groups and then pore over the scriptures together. Then the last 15 minutes of Sabbath school were dedicated to praying in small groups. These groups would pray for God to bring new people to them, people who were also searching for the truth in Jesus. Soon the church had more than doubled in size and had quickly outgrown its small building. Today there are 11 lay leaders at the church, and each one is in charge of a small group. There is even talk of starting a church plant in another nearby community to alleviate the crowded church each Sabbath. God has truly answered the prayers of the Bergamo church.
L'Evangelo nel mondo non può chiudersi
In the mission of the church, the gospel has not completed its mission until in the church, between the members, in its totality has accepted the character of Christ. In such a way, we will meet 1 time per week. After, we can meet 2 times per week. Sometimes people meet 3, 4, 5 times per week. We eat together, we enjoy together, we sing together, and we also weep together. And in such a way, the Lord will put people in His church.
Your prayerful support of the mission offering helps provide resources to small churches like Bergamo as they strive to reflect the character of Christ and bring the members of their community to Jesus. Thank you for supporting the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
One of the many activities and initiatives of the Office of Adventist Mission are the Global Mission Study Centers. One of these study centers is the World Jewish Adventist Friendship Center. This is a center that has been based in Jerusalem and recently moved to Paris, France. And I am delighted to welcome Dr. Richard Elifair to the program. Richard, you have been the director of this center for many years now.
Yeah, about 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
The study centers are set up to help us build better bridges of understanding with people from different faith traditions. Now, where does your knowledge of Judaism come from?
Oh, my knowledge comes from my education, because I am a Jew. I was born as a Jew, and then I was raised as a Jew. I did my bar mitzvah and all the normal education of a Jew. That's why I have a good knowledge of Judaism and what is to be a Jew.
Yes. Now tell me a little bit about the center. What are the sort of things that you do? What are your goals?
Our goals is to raise an understanding inside of the church and outside of the church, and good relationships between Jews and Adventists. That is our first goals, and that's why we try to make the church known among the Jews, in order to have them to have a good understanding of who we are and what we believe.
Outline some of the areas that we share in common with our Jewish neighbors.
Oh, we have many of them. We have, of course, the Sabbath, because we are the Seventh-day Adventist, and Seventh day means the Sabbath. And we have also all our lifestyle and our health principles and many things like that. In fact, we share the same Bible, the same God, the same Messiah. We have so many things in common with the Jewish people.
Now, as Adventists, we believe very strongly and we promote religious freedom. And so there are times when a Jewish person will decide, I want to fellowship with Adventists. How do we make this more comfortable for them? I understand that we have a number of different congregations. Describe those for me.
Yeah, you know, we have among us some Jews who have accepted that Jesus, which is called in Hebrew Yeshua, as a Messiah. And because they are coming to us, we welcome them, we accept them. But we are very careful not to hurt them and to shock them, and that's why we have decided to worship in some of our congregation in a Jewish style. That's why we have Hebrew Adventist congregation, or some others say Jewish Adventist congregation, some others say Jewish Adventist synagogue. Because we want to have the kippah, the talit, to sing and to pray in Hebrew, exactly like we can do in the synagogue. And on Sabbath morning, we open the Torah scroll, like in the synagogue, and we have the kiddush. We have all the staff of a Jewish synagogue in our congregations.
Now, I've had the privilege of worshiping in some of these congregations, and not coming from a Jewish background, it is still very meaningful for me. And do you find that you have many other Adventists who come and say this is a meaningful way to worship?
Yeah, in fact, not only Adventists, but also some other Christians from other denominations, because in fact our roots are in the Hebrew Bible. And we have common roots with the Jewish people. And many Christians are very interested to discover the Jewish or Hebrew roots of their faith.
Yes.
And that's why they are coming to our congregation, to our worship, and they are very happy to read the Bible and to understand the Bible with the new eyes, with a Jewish point of view. And that is very interesting for them. That's why we attract in our congregations Jews, Messianic, Christians, and Adventists.
A broad range, yeah. Now, Richard, tell me about the recent initiative for a radio station that you're involved in.
Yeah, since I am now in Paris, and if I came to Paris, to France, it is because France is the third Jewish country in the world after America and Israel. I try to think a little bit, what can I do in Paris, in France, to make this relationship and to build the understanding between Jews and Adventists. And I found radio is quite a good way, because 20, 30 years ago we had to ask government for authorization to have a channel on FM, etc. But today is completely free. With internet we can do whatever we want. And then I decided to open a web radio. This web radio is called Shema-Israel-radio.net or .com. It's coming too also. And in this radio we have right now beautiful music, Messianic music, and Jewish music, and also the reading of the Bible in Hebrew.
Oh, lovely.
And we are planning to record very soon some talk program, because Jews are very interesting by talk. We can see everywhere Jews are very educated and they are listening talk radio everywhere.
Fantastic. Now, Richard, just quickly, for more information on the center, how can our viewers find that?
How can
they get more information? What's the website?
Okay, the website is jewishadventist.org.
Oh, that's easy. jewishadventist.org.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Richard.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Viewers at home, please remember Pastor Elifair and his ministry in your prayers. There are more than 50 Jewish Adventist congregations spread in various parts of the world today, worshiping every Sabbath. These are congregations that are open, that are accommodating, that are friendly, that are contextualized to be attractive to our Jewish brothers and sisters. And please look for opportunities in your neighborhoods, in your workplace, to open up your arms of friendship to our Jewish friends with whom we have so much in common. And may God richly bless us as we try to be open to everybody who comes from a different faith tradition and needs to know that we are their friends and that we love them. My guest is Dr. David Trim, a historian who is also the Director of Archives and Statistics and Research at the Seventh-day Adventist World Headquarters. David, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Gary.
What we're going to talk about are some of the Adventist pioneers who have been very significant for the mission of the church. Who are we going to look at?
We're going to talk about John Corliss and William Spicer, Gary.
Wonderful, names that I am familiar with. Tell me about Elder Corliss.
Corliss is interesting. He has a personal connection in a sense with us, because without Corliss, the church in Australia, where we both grew up, would not have developed in the same way.
I have a lot to thank him for.
Indeed. You know, Corliss doesn't spend all his life as a missionary. but he does have some significant periods in mission service. He was born just after Christmas in 1845. He was originally a Baptist, but he became a Seventh-day Adventist when he was just 23. And in 1868, he became the chaplain at what was then called the Western Health Reform Institute. That became Battle Creek Sanitarium. That is the first Adventist healthcare institution.
Yes. And
he became its chaplain when it was only 2 years old. So he plays a really key role in forming the Adventist health work. He then later in the 1870s and 80s works as a minister and evangelist right across the United States. But a key date comes in 1885 when he goes with Elder S.N. Haskell and others as the first Adventist missionaries to Australia.
Wow.
And of course that is when the church in Australia gets founded. As with many countries in the world, Gary, Adventists had been there before the first missionaries came because they'd read Adventist literature.
Right.
But these are the first party of Adventist missionaries who go to Australia. And so in a sense, everything that happens with the church in Australia, which is still sort of a powerhouse for Adventism, comes from their work. And Corliss was particularly important because he conducted evangelistic campaigns in Melbourne and Adelaide and some other Australian cities, which were tremendously successful. He won large numbers of converts, including a few from the upper classes, which, as you know, Adventists don't always reach. And that was important because their tithes and offerings helped to sustain the church. And so really without Corliss and his evangelistic series, the church in Australia just wouldn't have taken off.
Now, when he went to Australia, who did you say he went with?
S.N. Haskell, Stephen Haskell.
Stephen Haskell.
And Haskell himself, you know, it would be a good subject for another time perhaps.
Oh yeah, he was particularly close with Ellen White, of course. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
So these men went with their families, got on a boat, went all the way to Australia. I mean, that wasn't easy back then.
No, indeed. It's a journey of weeks to go across the Pacific, not like today. I mean, it seems long enough now flying across the Pacific, but much longer then. And you know, a quite alien society. Australia and the United States were similar in some ways, both being sort of frontier societies, but of course Australia had been founded by Britain as a colony, and so it would have been alien to them in many ways, but they were willing to do it, they were enthusiastic, and Corliss, as I say, plays this key role as an evangelist, but also he establishes the first Adventist magazine, the first church paper in Australia, the Bible Echo. Which also it helped to knit the church together and won more people, won new converts as well. And he remained in Australia for 2 years. Then he went back to California because he had some health problems. But he went to Australia again and was there for another 3 years from 1893 to 1896 before, and of course that was the stage when Ellen White was also there. But he returns to the States in 1896, and then his key role thereafter for a while was in religious liberty. And he actually appeared before a U.S. Senate committee to testify about a proposed Sunday law. It's often remembered that A.T. Jones was the great hero of religious liberty, but Corliss was as involved as Jones was, and he helped to stop those moves towards a national Sunday law in the 1890s.
Now tell us about the second man, Elder Spicer, very significant for Adventist mission.
Spicer could not be more significant, actually, you know, Gary. Spicer's the man who creates Adventist mission, I would say. He himself served as a missionary. He went to England when he was just 22, helped set up the work there, came back to America to be the Foreign Missions Secretary of the General Conference. And because of his work while he was there, that was one of the reasons they were able to buy the land on which they established Salusi Mission, which is today Salusi University. And then he went to India. He went to India in 1898, and for 3 years he was the only ordained minister in the whole of Southern Asia. He founded the Adventist periodical there. He really set the work on a good foundation. And then he goes back to America to be the secretary of the Foreign Mission Board. But the following year, in 1902, he became secretary of the General Conference. And for nearly 20 years, he was the secretary of the General Conference. Now, a lot of viewers won't know, but the secretariat of the GC is what's responsible for sending foreign missions. But how do you do that? How do you send foreign missionaries? You've got to do all the logistics of actually shipping them over, taking care of them, their families, bringing them back periodically for furloughs. It requires a huge infrastructure. That's the part of mission service we often don't talk about because it isn't glamorous. But Spicer creates the infrastructure that allows the Seventh-day Adventist Church to send foreign missionaries all around the world and to keep them there for long periods of time, which includes bringing them home from time to time. You know, and that's still a major part of the bureaucracy of the General Conference, but it's a necessary part. And that is really all the creation of William Ambrose Spicer. But there's one other key role he played. He himself traveled the world between 1900 and 1940. There were only 4 years in which he didn't go abroad to travel. And everywhere he went, he wrote articles for church papers. And I would say, Gary, that Spicer implanted worldwide missions in the Seventh-day Adventist DNA. So we have a huge amount to thank him for.
David, I wish we had a couple of hours because these are fascinating men, but thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Viewers at home, we have so much to be thankful for in terms of people who pioneered the way, who under God's guidance, under His blessing, had a vision. They worked hard. Many of them died young. Many actually went overseas for mission and they never came home. And it's that sort of pioneering service, that sort of commitment to mission that we build on today. And we thank them for what they have done. And we know that God's Spirit is still working today in men and women to fire them for mission.
To the Masai, walking is a way of life. This morning they are walking to the Seventh-day Adventist Church to attend a seminar about HIV/AIDS. Many Masai people continue to live a very traditional life, living in arid parts of the country where water is scarce. Fruit and vegetables are almost unheard of, and their diet consists almost exclusively of milk, which they drink at least 3 times a day. Longtime medical missionaries Oscar and Eugenia Giordano are in Kenya to share information about HIV/AIDS and to bring hope to those affected. The husband and wife team of medical doctors are heading up the Seventh-day Adventist Church's HIV/AIDS ministry in Africa, the Adventist AIDS International Ministry. They encourage Adventist congregations to find ways to help those infected with HIV, to accept them, and to give them hope. During the 5-day seminar, Oscar and Eugenia are staying in this Masai Manyata, made of branches, plastered with cow dung, and usually covered with grass thatch.
You see us in a Manyata. This is a traditional Masai house, and usually the Masai houses are very, very dark inside, so the flies don't come. But this one has been tailored to a little bit to our needs, and there is light and there are flies. So
they are also given Masai names. Eugenia was given the name of Naipota, which means full of knowledge, and Oscar was given the name Saruni, which means the one who came to help us. In the mornings before the programs begin, they walk the hills nearby, learning about Masai ways, like the Masai toothbrush. Just chew the ends of a branch from a special bush until you get bristles, and then brush away. The area has been hit hard by drought.
You see, this time we are experiencing one of the toughest drought in Masai land history, because for the last 4 years we've never had a good rain to sustain the animals, and we have lost quite a number of animals. Almost 80% of the animals within the Masai land have been wiped by the drought.
The drought takes a human toll too, especially on those infected with HIV/AIDS, who need nutritious food like vegetables to maintain their health. Someday, the Giordanos hope to have enough money to drill a well that will provide water for the surrounding area. During the seminars, the doctors share information about HIV/AIDS with the group. Then Dr. Eugenia spends time with the women and girls, and Dr. Oscar spends time with the men and boys. In the Masai culture, most men have more than one wife.
Many people practice polygamy, and once if one is infected, the whole family is infected.
Yet many are afraid to be tested for fear they'll be ostracized. And there are other problems with getting people to understand how HIV/AIDS is transmitted. Some still believe that evil spirits are responsible for AIDS, and for some there are other more immediate needs.
You know, we found that the HIV message about prevention, if it comes alone, doesn't help very much because people are hungry. So we found that if we can give them practical solutions, they will listen. So here in Masai land, this group of people, they have different income-generating activities. For example, they have a barber shop where the young people, they cut hair, they have an earning, and at the same time, every person that is sitting there will learn about HIV and AIDS.
The Giordanos also help by encouraging them to grow small kitchen gardens and providing a way for women to earn money by sewing, making beadwork crafts, and baking bread and cakes in a charcoal oven. There's no electricity here, and the closest barber shop and bakery are some 40 kilometers away. The Giordanos' HIV/AIDS ministry extends far beyond Masai land. In Kenya, the Giordanos are helping support churches and other community organizations ministering to those with HIV/AIDS. The Kingero Adventist Church is helping grandmothers earn a living by sewing, crafts, and baking. They are also making and bottling liquid detergent, and they even have their own yogurt production, thanks to a new refrigerator bought by donors in Australia. But one project leader has a special place in the Giordanos' hearts. They met Angelina through the Adventist church across the street from their ministry. Angelina has been working with HIV/AIDS orphans and their grandmothers, often retired, who are suddenly faced with raising their grandchildren. AAIM has funded projects so that these grandmothers can grow gardens or earn a small income to help put food on the table. Recently, Angelina's been told that she, the grandmothers, and the orphans must leave the building where she's been running her programs. The Giordanos yearn to do more. Everywhere they turn, they see more needs, more people who need hope.
Help somebody and you will feel such a happiness in your heart that is priceless.
Global Mission staff regularly gather the latest stories and information about mission work from countries all around the globe. If you live in North America and would like to know more about what Global Mission pioneers are doing or what you can do to help plant new congregations, then call us or visit our website and ask for Frontline Edition or offer number 301. Please remember to clearly state your name and mailing address and be sure to mention Frontline Edition or offer 301. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Thank you so much for supporting Global Mission with your prayers and finances, and also with your mission offerings. Remember to learn more about mission at any time. Just visit our website at adventistmission.org. Until next time, I'm Gary Krause, wishing you God's richest blessing, and I hope you can join me next time right here on Global Mission Snapshots.